making this up. The sources for this information are mentioned right at the bottom of the screen. Let's go to the next one. Viewers, 2.5, PM 2.5 is responsible for 1.7 million deaths in just 2022. The economic loss is 9.5% of GDP. Who's saying this, viewers? The very widely respected Lancet magazine. It's a scientific journal. Children are dying by the hundreds every day, viewers. Every day. And what are these people doing? What is our parliament doing? They're tearing up each other's egos, viewers. They're only involved in point scoring. 464 children deaths per day under 5 linked to dirty air. AIMS warning 10 micrograms per cubic meter rise in PM 2.5. 20 to 40% spike in pediatric respiratory emergencies. The capital city is the worst affected. 1 in 7 deaths is linked to pollution. 1 in 7, viewers. 15% of all deaths. 17,200 lives have been lost. Daily exposure is around 33 to about 50 cigarettes, because that's the air quality. For every 22 micrograms of 2.5, you end up smoking 1 cigarette. Here, viewers, PM 2.5 in the atmosphere exceeds 250 on a normal day. The situation in India is apocalyptical. Here's a comparison with the rest of the world. India has 186 deaths per 100,000. In rich countries, it's 17 deaths per 100,000, viewers. 10 times higher death rate due to pollution. Every Indian is facing the brunt of unregulated development in this country, viewers. 100,000 plus deaths each in Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar, West Bengal. Cities are the worst hit. 150 of 256 cities, they exceeded PM 2.5 limits in 2025. Can you imagine? Viewers, more than half your cities. And yet, what did Parliament do today? What did it do today, viewers? It settled scores. And like children, viewers, they were tearing up papers. And I'm not only going to blame the opposition. It tore up procedure. These MPs tore up the one debate that actually mattered to every Indian, the right to breathe. Across party lines, there is outrage. Outrage. Because what do these optics tell us, viewers? They tell us that there is an indifference to outcomes. MPs can disrupt the House, but they cannot discipline pollution. In fact, yesterday, viewers, the Delhi Health Minister said, what can I do? We've inherited this problem. The same BJP, viewers, in Delhi was running around last year wearing masks and going to all these pollution guns that they mounted all over the place, which are a waste of money, and saying, oh, they don't work, these smoke guns don't work, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, jumping into pools. Viewers, they can shred a bill, but not the toxic air that shortens Indian lives by years. A debate was scheduled to discuss pollution, and it is junked. And how do we know this? Because the proof, viewers, is on paper. The Business Advisory Committee had penciled in a debate today, and who was supposed to lead the discussion? Srimati Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, Srimati Kanimodi Karunanidhi, Miss Bansuri Swaraj, Member of Parliament from Delhi of the BJP. So this was supposed to be, viewers, an across-party debate. And they all promised us that they were united on this issue. If our voice is not heard in Parliament, where will it be heard? Where will we go, viewers? A discussion was scheduled under Rule 193. It was supposed to happen. We were all looking forward to it. And the denial is now reaching the level of active disregard. Let me tell you this, viewers. A minister today tells us there is no conclusive data to link pollution to health issues. Can you believe it, viewers? This is a response from a minister at the centre, Mr. Kirtivardhan, to India. So then why are we running around, viewers, being asked to get our PUC checked and certificates, and why are we not being allowed to use our cars liberally? Why are our children being asked to sit at home? Why are we being told that 50% work from home has kicked in? Why are laborers sitting at home, not on construction sites? Why is Delhi in a lockdown? And tell Mr. Harshvardhan that he should pick up the phone and tell that to the parents in pediatric emergency wards. Or our parents, some of whom are asthmatic. And just because, viewers, they think they can get away, they can say anything. There is no conclusive data available to establish a direct correlation of death exclusively by air pollution. Health effects of air pollution are synergistic manifestation of factors which include food habits, occupational habits, socio-economic status, medical history, immunity, and hereditary of the individual, viewers, unquote. This is what this minister is saying. Jargon written by some babu, some bureaucrat, viewers, whose job is to confuse, is to dilate, is to digress. There's a lot Parliament can do, viewers. There's a lot. They can mandate a revision to update the NNAQS to reflect modern health data, ensure pollution reduction targets are backed by the law for accountability, ensure better utilization of rupees 11,000 crore allocated to clean air programs, mandating an expanding network of real-time monitoring of AQI levels, facilitate mission mode cooperation and not treat public health as political issues, strengthen enforcement against sources like stubble burning, industrial emissions, etc. There are n number of things that this Parliament can do. So tonight we ask, when the House tears papers, instead of tearing into pollution, who pays the price? Is Indian life political collateral for these people while they go and settle their ego little wars and tussles over whether a bill should be called Ji Ram Ji or Mahatma Gandhi Rural Guarantee Scheme or whatever it is? Is that what we deserve? Let's open this up, viewers. We've got to ask some tough questions tonight. And there is a spare day tomorrow for Parliament, let me tell you. And I hope the BJP turns up on this debate instead of skittering into some gutter. And I'll tell you, viewers, this. We need accountability. In Goa, no head has rolled. Boeing crisis, nothing comes to fruition by the way of accountability. Here also, viewers, we can get gassed to death, and they will gas in Parliament. They can come and issue a notice against me. I want to begin with Sohail Seth. Sohail Seth, you live in an area that sinks every monsoon. You've tweeted about it. You step out of your home, you step into heaps of garbage, you walked around the streets and showed us that. That's pollution also, viewers. And today you can't breathe. And Parliament has this sham. I mean, what is going on?
Oh, what I'm amazed at is your optimism and your expectations from these arrogant, self-purposeful people in politics in our country today. They're an absolute disgrace to democracy, they're a disgrace to accountability, and they're a disgrace to every Indian. On the one hand, you have Narendra Modi striving 18 hours a day, working towards brand India, talking about this, talking about that. Have you ever seen Bhupendra Yadav? I don't even think he exists. He's like the haze, or he must be in a haze. I haven't seen the Union Minister for Environment. Then you have this intellectual giant of his Minister of State who says there is actually no problem. So if there is no problem, why the hell does Rekha Gupta, who can't distinguish between AQI and IQ, why does she tell people to work from home? Why does Dr. Anil Gupta on a previous television program with me say that our ministers have been on the road? We don't want them to be on the road. We want them to solve problems. The tragedy, Rahul, is this too shall be forgotten. And for that, we only have to blame ourselves for repeatedly falling for their lies, their promises. You know what Dr. Anil Gupta said to me on the program before? We've only come to power in February this year, but this is a 26-year-old legacy. So I asked him to actually move it back to Manu's time. and actually wonder whether Manu, while writing Manu Smriti, actually breathed fresh air. Or blame Nehru again. Or if you don't want to blame Nehru and you still want to hurt the Brits, talk about Robert Clive. I mean, it is an absolute disaster. But here's the thing. The late Arun Jaitley once said, the business of running parliament is the government's business. It is not the opposition's business. Where is the government? Where are they? And let me tell you, they will continue to win an election. Let me make that prediction. Because we as a people are impotent intellectually to distinguish between right and wrong, between promise and hyperbole, between delivery and execution. It is we. You remember what Shakespeare said? The fault, dear Brutus, lies not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings. Today, we are the underlings in this democracy. And I'm amazed. I expected a lot from the BJP. Aam Aadmi Party, with the idiosyncratic chief minister, could have odd even days. Rekha Gupta wakes up to this now. And I will say, to the credit of the Delhi government, one minister, and I must place his name on record, Mr. Sirsa, at least had the courage to apologize. But we need more than that. We need courage to translate into action. Rahul, tell me, you can afford an air purifier. All these Lutyens bungalow owners can. What happens to the poorest of the poor, the less privileged, people who are daily wagers? What happens to them? Do they deserve this? Is this the democracy we promise our people? Is this the Viksit Bharat we are heading towards? Is this the India we dreamt of? Is this the freedom from salvation? So my point to you is, keep raising this issue. I can only say this for all our countrymen and women. We are letting our future generations down every day. I'm not even in the frame of mind to get upset anymore. Because when anguish is deep, tempers come to the side. Today, I'm an anguished Indian who loves his country, as everyone does, I'm sure. But is this what you want to do to Parliament? And you expect people to respect you? Which is why in every which way we mock our politicians, because they let us down every time. And it is across the aisle. 5.75 crores is the cost of running Parliament every day. All these people in Parliament have access to All India Institute of Medical Science. They can go abroad for treatment. What will you do to the daily wager? What will you do to that school child? Why should he or she be forced to stay at home? Why? Why should parents, senior citizens not be allowed to go for a walk? What are we doing? I mean, I'm amazed. And, frankly, I don't even see any solution in sight, because the first step towards a solution is to accept the problem. We're in denial about the problem itself, so how the hell will you work out a solution? My feeling is that if we want things to happen, someone has got to make the move. And I will only, through your channel, implore the Prime Minister now to step in, because I don't think anything else is working. Nothing is working. The collective responsibility of the cabinet or the cabinet minister's responsibility is nowhere to be seen. So it's an anguished call, but it's also called seeing the realism that we are afflicted with today.
Viewers, I've never seen Suhail Seth this emotional. He's a stoic individual, and even I'm getting teary-eyed now. Because what this is helplessness and hopelessness. This is what is dawning on all of us, viewers. We're being betrayed. And Charu Pragya, I don't know what to say, because Kirti Vardhan Singh has said it all. He says, there is no conclusive data available to establish a direct correlation of death exclusively by air pollution. Health effects of air pollution are synergistic manifestation of factors which include food habits, occupational habits, socioeconomic status, medical history, immunity, and heredity of the individual. So why are we wearing these masks? If what is going to knock us off is some hereditary trigger, or our socio-economic status, or some past medical history, why are our children being asked to sit at home? Why are cricketers walking off the fields? I mean, is this what is expected of a MOS, a Minister of State? I mean, he doesn't have the decency to say, I'm sorry, we messed up.
Good evening, Rahul. Good evening to all my panelists. And Sohail, thank you for that. Everything that you were saying about the health emergency, about the pollution that we're all reeling under, not just in Delhi, in other parts of the country. Yes, all of that exists. And yes, we have acknowledged that. So please don't say it's not been acknowledged. It has been acknowledged. That's why we have a central air pollution board now. It has been acknowledged. That's why we have an NCAP. And NCAP is working in 130 plus cities in the country, not just concerned with Delhi. It's across the nation. We have addressed that. That is why today we are talking about BS6 vehicles. We have moved on in the fastest possible manner. We have the largest network of metro in the world in our country because we are concerned about the environment. We are actually phasing out from other sources of energy onto renewable sources of energy because we are concerned about the environment. This is not a magic wand. And the government has been making consistent efforts in various fields, in various ways to fix this problem. And I know I'm going to be on the target today, like my party is, like my government is, and I'm going to answer sensibly as far as possible every question raised. Let me also address one more issue. Pointed fingers are raised every single time we say pollution here is a legacy problem. Right? Everybody says that. Don't talk about the past. Let's stay on the present. Let's talk about the solutions. Let's talk about the future. We will talk about the future. We will talk about the solutions. And I will list down every single thing our government has done, starting with the 2,700 crore program, which was rolled out by Delhi's Environment Minister just yesterday. But tell me, how is it not a legacy problem if Metro Phase 4 payments were not done by the AAP government? 1,000 crore plus of that money. How is it not a legacy problem if Delhi needed electric buses and they were not supplied by the previous government? But this government in the last 8 months also has added 1,400 plus buses to our tally.
Charu Pragya.
And yes.
Charu Pragya, all this is great. You're giving me all of this statistical information. Why don't you stand up?
I'm giving you efforts. I'm giving you efforts.
Whatever. In statistics form, why didn't you stand up in Parliament and list all of this so that we could measure you by what you say on the record? You're telling me all of this in a panel discussion, while none of your leaders have had the gumption to come out and say, no, we are moving a motion right now. We are scheduling that debate tomorrow. Here is the BAC, the Business Advisory Committee note. So-and-so is going to be starting by taking 8 questions on this issue. We're going to have a 0-hour discussion, no pre-scripted anything. But no one has come out, viewers. And let me tell you, the opposition, look, I'm not just pillorying. We're talking about the Parliament of India. I just checked Rahul Gandhi's tweet today. 2 days back is when he tweeted something. He's not even in the country when the number one issue that is affecting all of us is supposed to be debated. The Prime Minister is out. He could have stood there in the House and become the champion of the people uncontested. No. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra has not tweeted, viewers, on this issue at all in the last 20 to 48 hours. I just came in hoping that these two would have at least said tomorrow, it's the last day of Parliament in this session, and we are going to ensure that there is a debate on this. And we ask the government to postpone the issue of introducing the G Ramji bill to the second half. Because for the first 3 hours, we're going to talk about this. We have 10 questions to ask the government. Now, Dr. Ranganathan, we heard Charu Pragya. And she says her government is working overtime. The PCB, the NCAP, the metro system, this, that, the other. If they knew it was a long-term solution problem, why were they wearing masks right last year and running around the place as if they had the magic wand?
Good evening, Rahul, and thank you very much for that eye-opening primer of yours. And thank you, Sohail, for those very wise words and very emotional words. And thank you, Charu, as well. But let me just say 3 or 4 things that need to be said. Number one, I think we have to be reconciled with the fact that India is a banana republic. I think the more we kind of dispute that fact, the more angry we would get. There is a calm that descends on you once you realize that we are all Sisyphus pushing a rock, our life expectancy is reducing. Let us be fatalistic and nihilistic about it because nothing is going to change. We are a banana republic. Let me give you 3 examples of that. There are 2 ways now that India is reducing its voters, one by SIR and the other by AQI. And both are being done at the behest, beck and call of politicians. Now, yes, Charu is right. This is a legacy issue. All very well, one can be cynical and say, well, yes or no, but it is. AAP and Congress were as much responsible for the pollution or not tackling it as the BJP is right now. But then, is that enough for you to say it was a legacy issue? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. What are you doing? And let me tell you what you're doing. This year, there are till now 31,500 farm fires. And according to a NASA report just published last week, 90% of farm fires in Punjab are not being detected because the farmers have become very clever. They are burning the fields after 2 p.m. once the satellites pass. So 90% of farm fires are not being detected. We have detected 31,500 farm fires. You know how many of those are in the BJP ruled states? 25,000 farm fires. Madhya Pradesh 16,000 BJP ruled state. Haryana 600. Rajasthan 2,800. 25,000 farm fires are happening in BJP ruled states and you are saying it's a legacy issue? Yes, it is a legacy issue. It was in Punjab, in Delhi. But what are you doing about the farm fires happening right now? 15 million tons of rice stubble has been burned since September 2025. We are spending 150 times the amount on curing respiratory diseases. Had we actually instead bought the happy seeder machines to take out the rice in an eco-friendly way, the cost of that, $70 million. What is the ad budget of central government, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh? $1,300 million. And still you say we are not a banana republic? Charu, it is not a question of Delhi. It is not a question of central government. The question is how many farmers in Madhya Pradesh, in UP, in Haryana, in Rajasthan have been jailed for setting their farms on fire. You give me the number. Then I will believe it's a legacy issue. Until that time, stop fooling the voters or reduce them by SIR and by AQI.
Ma'am, a quick response. How many have been jailed? What's the action taken?
So because we are discussing farm fires and you are giving all this data, let me tell you one thing. Farm fires, over the last couple of years, we have made all efforts to bring them down by mitigation, by discussion, by giving alternate methods of getting rid of the rubble which is left behind after harvesting. And Anand, you know that
where
very
are these
well.
figures then coming from? From these BJP ruled states, there are figures, right? I mean, are we contesting these figures? Are you saying that we're lying here? Because I've even seen them myself.
I don't know what figures Anand is quoting, and
Oh,
I
I'll
am
tell
going
you.
to go with what he's quoting. That's
Okay.
fine. I
I'll
do
pull
not
them up.
question his data. And I'm not questioning his data. What I am
But
trying
so
to
then-
say
Charu, is it a crime
is that
to
traditional
set fire
methods
to the
of
farm?
dealing with pollution.
It's a simple yes and no. It's not a question of Charu. 1 second. It's not a question of cajoling
No.
the
It is
criminal.
no.
It is not a question
simple
of
yes and
cajoling
no.
the criminal.
It
The
is much
Supreme
more.
Court has
No.
said that
And
setting a
nobody is
farm on
cajoling a
fire is
criminal.
a crime.
Tell me
It is
something,
crime.
Anand. Can I just say something? And again, I'm going to say this with all humility and all
No,
responsibility.
1 second.
Now, India is
viewers,
not China.
whether there is a fudge going on in
Rahul,
Punjab.
allow
1
me to
second.
say this.
Just 1 second. Just one
Sure.
second. You know, on this question of Madhya Pradesh and farm fires, it leads viewers in farm stubble burning for the second year. It leads second year viewers. And Uttar Pradesh and Punjab follow. Punjab, despite, and there is enough proof, and it was brought out very clearly last year as well as this year by NASA and others, including Indian agencies, including the government, by the way, the central government, our own government. They said that these people are now lighting their fields after 2 p.m. when the satellites fly overhead. And they know it because they were tipped off by guess whom, viewers? Their own political leaders. And they even could be an undercount. But this is the fact. Madhya Pradesh accounts for nearly half of all stubble burning incidents recorded across 6 states this year. And I'm talking about, viewers, till the 25th of November 2025. 7 of India's 10 worst affected districts are in the state, with Shiopur again topping the national list. Punjab and Haryana have cut crop fire incidents by more than half, while Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan report sharp increases. All of these are BJP ruled states except for one. So fundamentally, let's not constantly airbrush issues. I think that is also contempt. Let me open this up. 1 second.
Yes, but can I just say my last bit and then we will go ahead. Right, pollution is not a switch which can be put on and off, but compare today to earlier. Earlier, there were no national targets, Rahul. Today, at least we have national programs with targets, with budgets. Earlier, there was no enforceable architecture to deal with
money
any of
is
this.
great.
Today, we are
No,
measuring
hang on.
outcomes.
Money is great as
we are
long as you
measuring
spend
outcomes.
it and are
one more very
seen
important
to be
thing.
spending it. No, one second.
one
Listen,
very
where's this money
important
coming
thing, and then
from? It's
after
coming
that I
from
will
the
not
taxpayer, and our children, viewers, can't go to school. So we pay these taxes so that someone can use all this money to address the problem, yet the problem persists and it slaps us across our face. It blinds us. It brings us to tears.
My government is in a position today where whichever side we legislate on, and allow me to say
Ma'am,
this,
you can
whichever
only
side we
legislate in
legislate
Parliament.
on. No, just let me finish saying this, and you can rebut it later. Whichever side we are on, if we are going to say that we ban diesel vehicles older than 10 years in this area, isn't there an equal uproar from the other side? Today, if we allow them to run,
listen,
there is an
governance
equal
is
uproar.
not about looking over your shoulder at what the other
one
side is
second.
saying.
This
It's
is not
doing the
China.
maximum. No,
Rahul,
hang on, please.
This is not
Don't
China.
give me this.
This is not the Communist Republic
This is,
of China.
no, hang on,
where
please.
you
Don't
will,
give me this excuse.
rule with
Don't,
an
ma'am,
iron
please.
fist and you say nothing's going
Okay,
to happen
let
because
me,
we made a rule.
then if
India
you are
is
not
for
the
every
communist,
small
no, hang on,
thing.
then if you are not the Communist Republic of China, then let me ask you 3 questions. And let me ask you these pointed questions. And these are questions that people are asking. My first question: why are you making people scrounge around for your livelihoods, for their livelihoods, by shutting down everything in one fell swoop under GRAP 4? Tell me. Why are you not allowing construction material into the city overnight and now chalaning people for also driving cars that are not B4 or B6 or what have you? Tell me, why are you fining people 25,000 rupees? Then you can then implement.
Okay, now
if we are not
here's
the
thing.
Communist Republic of China, why were you making people not give Aadhaar card when you were counting them as as voters?
Rahul, they are lighting 25,000 farms and banning tandoors. This is how they are thinking.
No, 1 second, Anand. Anand, you're far too intelligent to take with this narrative because the tandoor ban is an older one and it is a part of the Supreme Court guideline. This is not done by BJP government or Delhi government.
Okay.
1 second, 1 second. Let's stick to facts, right?
And I'm giving you the facts. You are not the Communist Republic of China. You say we are not a dictatorial government. People couldn't come through.
With all the questions coming my way, so let's stick to facts. I'm trying to place on record here that the tandoor decision is not the government's. It's the Supreme Court. You have a problem with it, Anand? Please move the court about it. Please do. But was the previous government also enforcing the laws set down by the Supreme Court? Was that happening in the past?
No. Viewers,
Today,
I began with a simple... Okay, fair enough. Ma'am, you're absolutely right. We recuse ourselves. Won't ask you a question. You're absolutely right. Because obviously, we're daft, viewers. We have no data. We have no knowledge. We have no insight. We're just sitting around here wasting your time. I mean, that's what I'm getting to here. Anyhow, let me bring in Sanjay Jha and Mr. Suhail Seth. Just before that, Suhail Seth, I just want to ask you, how much do you think, how much credit should you give to Charu Pragya tonight for explaining to us great patience that our facts are not quite up to the mark?
Charu, you're much younger and much wiser. I will leave you with one statement many years ago said, with forms of government, let fools contest. That which is governed best is best. Governance today is totally absent. You know, you can roll out a whole string of data. It means deadly jack. because people are suffering. We're breathing poisonous air. You can set up boards and commissions. Again, since you're young and wise, there are no statues of committees in any parks or of any boards. It's of individuals. That individual leadership is absent today. And if you do nothing about it, you will bring enduring shame to this lovely, great nation of ours.
There are people today, viewers, there are people today who are saying that play cricket in the south or don't play cricket at all. Sanjay Jha, I want to ask you, sir. Now, you have an opportunity tonight to sort of roll out a laundry list of complaints against the government. But I'll also ask you, the opposition has a duty too. It has to raise our concerns. And you've heard me not spare the government or the party in power. But I have to ask you this. Why hasn't Mr. Gandhi or Ms. Vadra, who are the leaders, as well as Mr. Kharge, come out and said that we will not allow this government to walk away from the pollution debate? Tomorrow, we are ready to basically hold up Parliament if we are not going to be speaking about pollution. There will be a no-show from our side. They are also silent. How are we going to build pressure?
Rahul, good evening to you and to all my fellow panelists. Can I be very honest? This is one of the best conversations I've had on your program that I remember in a long, long time. I think both Suhail as well as Anand have spoken, I think not just their own personal view, I think it echoes will probably anybody who's watching this program. We are not getting into this political slugfest. And to answer your question at the very beginning, I mean, there is no question of me representing the opposition today and saying with some degree of schadenfreude that we are happy that the BJP is cornered, because if it is a legacy problem, then we are equal contributors to the mess we are in. So I'm not going to beat about the bush on that at all. I have heard Suhail on Gurugram. I caught some snippets of his angst when he was commenting on the civic state of affairs on Instagram, and he was very vocal about what he thought was the public getting a raw deal. And I see a manifestation of that today in terms of what we are all facing. It's so odd, Rahul, because I look at this panel right now on my digital screen, and I see you, and I see Charu, and I see all of us, educated, intelligent people, right? We are part of what is called as the urban elite. And we are all sounding defeated. We are saying this is a fait accompli. We are going to die of pollution. Today, you are weaker in your lungs than you were yesterday. And we are going to accept that. And I'm going to tell you, let's not do that. I have been part of politics for a long time, Rahul. You know me very well, both on and off the screen. And one of the reasons why I have always been, and I still refrain from getting deep into that political cesspool, is because I believe until you keep treating politicians as demigods, India will not change. I'll give you an example. Suhail, you travel a lot abroad, and you and I have been in UK a couple of times. A British Prime Minister who gave the Conservatives the biggest majority in Boris Johnson had to resign as a Prime Minister because he wore a mask when he did not wear a mask and he was partying, but he told his country to wear one. And they said, listen, you violated an oath that you made to the people of Britain, but you violated it yourself, you got to go. We don't have those standards, Rahul. You know, we lionize our politicians as if they're gods, and it's a flaw. It's a bipartisan problem. I'm telling you, this is the reason why I think India will struggle, and all of us need to ask more tougher questions. I'll give you one example here. I mean, I have been in politics and I've spoken to people in the Congress, sometimes even in the BJP and definitely in the opposition. I have come to one conclusion. Politicians live from one election cycle to another, which is why climate change, which is why environmental degradation, air pollution does not matter. Because if I get into power tomorrow, we will say, well, you know, we inherited this. Okay. And so we will take 5 years to first kind of neutralize the damage before any amelioration is going to happen. So everyone is out there into that, what we call in the corporate world as a CYA. You know, no one wants to really kind of bite the bullet and say, you know what, we messed up. Okay. And I think Rahul, until in this country, and I'm saying this as my last line, there are other people to speak. Until politicians in this country have the courage of their own conviction and the decency to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah. There's nothing wrong. In our country, if a politician says, I'm sorry, he feels as if he or she is going to be pillored from the tallest tree by the thinnest thread.
Okay, so let me
they're guilty.
Let me bring in Mr. Abbas Haider. Mr. Haider, we're looking for leadership.
Yeah.
Young leader, Samajwadi Party, Akhilesh Yadav, forward-looking person, represents India's most populous state, also going through the same problem. What is he going to do tomorrow morning? He's a member of parliament. I want to ask you this so that we can actually have a voice that will speak our woes. What's he going to do? Does he have a plan?
Rahul Bhai, first of all, I want to thank you and Suhail Bhai as well as Rahul Bhai for reflecting the views of the common people of India. We all could resonate what they have said, what you have said. And Rahul Bhai, we have requested for an adjournment motion on this issue because this is not a very trivial issue. It's the most serious issue this country is facing because, every living creature, every living being is affected by air pollution. And I'm telling you one more thing, Rahul Bhai. First of all, because somehow we are still alive in Delhi NCR because there are Aravalli hills around us. And after our order, after this decision that Aravalli Hills less than 100 meter would not be considered part of the Aravalli ranges, that is going to open a door for illegal mining for the cronies. That is going to make the situation worse in Delhi NCR. One more thing, Rahul Bhai. Now, so you have quoted Lancet data that 1.7 million people in this country have died due to air pollution in just 1 year. But have you seen a single death certificate where it has been mentioned that the cause of death is air pollution? No. Just like COVID, we could have them. So first of all, it is important to acknowledge, like Suhail ji has said, first of all, we should get rid of this denial mode. I agree that it is not this problem has not been created in just 8 months
so
or
you're
whatsoever.
saying that your party has moved an adjournment motion. Okay, viewers, at least that's a beginning. I'm going to move on because there is another very important story. We are talking about, viewers, the security of the people of this country, but also of national security. And I'm just going to come out to that. But I just want to say one thing, viewers, and I've been saying it from day one. In fact, 3 days back when I did this debate, I said, time that you make the people of this, the representatives who are speaking up on your behalf and who are supposed to, viewers, supposed to look out for you, make them accountable. The one way you can do it is by making this an electoral issue. Make this an electoral issue. If they're not doing what you want them to do, vote them out. Press note. I said this 3 days back on this very channel, on this very show. I want to move on because, viewers, security of the people and security of the land, it's tied in different contexts. So I want to talk about this. Anti-India hate is on the streets of Dhaka. Indian diplomats are under siege. The High Commission is ringed by mobs of Islamized youth. Threats are open. Slogans are explicit. And you can see one of the Bangladeshi politicians on the right said, we will axe the Seven Sisters, we'll take them. And India has been forced to now issue a formal démarche. This isn't a random unrest. This is organized hostility, and it is hostility that has been indoctrinated into a large number of individuals in Bangladesh who are now hitting the streets. And you can see, viewers, a démarche has been issued. MEA has expressed strong concern about Bangladesh security situation that is now impinging upon the security of Indians, viewers, in that country. Onwards, attention has been drawn to threats by Islamist groups to India. There's a worrying and escalating pattern, and with Dhaka in the grip of Islamists, India is facing a 3.5 almost war front. And you can go back into history and I can read you all the instances. There's been provocations, there's been action from our side, but nothing seems to be stemming this issue. There was a provocation in January of 2025, there was a provocation, viewers, even before that. We have been raising this issue in April 2025. They laid claim to Seven Sisters, again, handing out maps showing Greater Bangladesh that incorporates Indian territory. June 2025, a makeshift Durga temple in Dhaka was razed as part of a demolition drive. The story is the same. Month after month, day after day, December 2025, just a few days back, we had another horrible provocation. And this is all part of a larger Islamist, viewers, conspiracy. From attacks on Hindus, provocative border moves, reckless rhetoric about India's northeast to the demolition of a Durga temple, the pattern is very clear. Each provocation is brushed aside, each warning is explained away, and every time India is told to show restraint. By whom, viewers? By politicians within. Because they constantly go out there, viewers, and whitewash this Islamist jihad. You have Imran Masood of the Congress who whitewash this jihad mentality, saying this is all destroying youth, this is a reaction to provocation. Hussain Dalwai has come out and said, why are there bomb attacks around elections? This should be probed. This could also be repercussion for injustice in Jammu and Kashmir. Mehbooba Mufti says government has claimed normalcy in Kashmir, troubles of Kashmir echoed right in the front of Red Fort. P. Chidambaram, ex-union minister, we should ask ourselves what are the circumstances that turn Indian citizens, even educated persons, into terrorists? And viewers, the moment you create excuses for one set of Islamists, it emboldens quite another. In Bangladesh, there's a political vacuum. It's become a playground for radical tanzeems, for Pakistan-linked operatives, for extremist networks that thrive in lawlessness. But there's the uncomfortable truth. Jihad doesn't need excuses. There is no Sanghi sitting in Bangladesh that is flexing his muscle. This is a mindset. Neither are they sitting in Bondi Beach, viewers, in Sydney. Jihad doesn't wait for provocation. This is jihad by indoctrination. The question is what is emboldening it, and let's engage with that question. I want to go straight across to Dr. Ranganathan. Dr. Ranganathan, your views on this. Sushant Sareen is also there with us. Yes.
No, I used to say till not too long ago that Pakistan is going to become another Afghanistan and Bangladesh is going to become another Pakistan, except that I think Afghanistan has learned its lesson and maybe the first part is not true, but the second part is certainly going to be true. Be that as it may, look, there are two kinds. One, we can talk about the internal strife and the quote-unquote jihad and rationalization of it inside India by our Muslims. And we can talk about the jihad that is happening outside India. Now, inside India, there are ways to tackle it. I have written a book about it. We are not going to tackle it. Let's leave it at that. But at least for the people who are fomenting trouble outside of India, let me draw a parallel of Bangladesh with Pakistan. Now, Pakistan is worse than Bangladesh as far as its utterances are concerned. If Bangladesh says today, we will take back, look at that chap saying we'll take back 7 sisters. Pakistan has been issuing threats for, decades on end. We will take Kashmir, we will come to Delhi, hum ye kar lenge, wo kar lenge. Has that worried us? Not in the least. You know why? Because we have protected ourselves against that external jihad. We have fenced our border very resolutely and we have given Pakistan a bloody nose every time it has threatened to do what Bangladesh right now is doing. Now let me quickly come to Bangladesh. Are we prepared for it? I'm sorry, we are not. We still have 450 kilometers of border with Bangladesh unfenced. In fact, as the last debate shows, Rahul, we need to ask more questions to the people we expect answers from, which is the present government. There's no point asking questions from the opposition because we don't expect anything from them. So I want to ask the present government, why is it that the UPA fenced more India-Bangladesh border than you have? And the pretext of Mamta is not allowing BSF, Border Security Force, the land to make border. I'm sorry. It is a national security issue. It is a ever-present, clear-present danger. Number one. Number two, we have a sizable chunk of Hindu population. I want to ask numbers from this government, pro-Hindutva government, in the last 1.5 years since the Hindu genocide in Bangladesh began. Give me the number of legal Hindus, Bangladeshi Hindus that have come to India. Give me the number.
Okay.
According to me, zero.
Okay. Sushant Sareen,
we talk about
how do you see this? How do you see this? If we as Indians whitewash Islamism, then we'll appear divided, irresolute, and that emboldens people.
Rahul, it's a complicated thing. What we have to understand is that, very glibly, for example, in India, some of the clips you've also played in your program, very glibly people say that, there are injustices in Kashmir, so terrorism is justified. They justify terrorism. They don't say they are justifying it, but they justify it. They justify it on a range of other things. There is some lynching which has happened in a nation of 1.5 billion people. There are 40 instances of lynching. I think 40 too many. But you justify it that this means that if people take to terrorism, it's okay. there is bound to be anger. Please tell me, girls as young as 12, 13, 14 years old, the shameless Pakistani Punjabi Muslim will never talk about it. Can Indian Muslim talk about it? They are raped, they are picked up from their houses, they are forcibly converted in Pakistan. How much Hindu terrorism has happened in Pakistan? In Bangladesh, similar things happen. How many Indian Muslims have ever opened their mouth and said Bangladeshi Hindus should take to terrorism to teach the Bangladeshi Muslims a lesson? So one is this double standard, that if supposing something nasty happens to
I understand.
Muslims, they are justified in doing what they are doing.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think Anand asked some very relevant questions, including from this government, which is very quick to rake up these issues.
No, since the government hasn't got a representative here, because one second, we are going to do this debate again tomorrow because we have to ask questions. I've split it in two, and I want to bring in Mr. Junaidi. Mr. Junaidi, are we paying for justifying Islamism? Is that what's happened? People are now perceiving this as weakness, and you have this.
First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Ranganathan Anand for playing half of my part by asking the questions on the government. Now talking about, are we paying the price for what? For you say the Indians justify terrorism? Nowhere, no Indian Muslim justifies terrorism. What we say is terrorism is something different which has no connection with Islam. Islam never talks about terrorism, so how can it be like justifying the terrorism? Now, the actual reason is, like the panelist before me, Dr. Anand said about, he has written the book to tackle the terrorism in the Islamic terrorism in India, whatever. The very point is, it is the matter of the fact to actually inquire what are the root causes of these youngsters being converted into terrorism. First of all, they lack the knowledge of Islam, and that's why they get diverted. Now, talking about the national security, once you fit the nationality into their mentality and their mindset, they are not bound to cross it.
Okay,
but we are not doing it, and that is the very point. We're talking about.
Look, sir, I mean, when you start with the premise, no, actually, I'm just going to go across to Gadsad in just a few minutes. He's waiting for me. I just want to say one thing, viewers. If you're going to start, Mr. Jha, if you're going to start by saying that there is no one rationalizing all of this, then we're off to a bad start, isn't it? I mean, would you agree?
Rahul, to be very frank, where Bangladesh is concerned, I think it is going to be a security challenge for India, if not a direct threat. For the simple reason that if you look at the elections that are coming up, they are going to ban the Awami League that is represented by Sheikh Hasina.
Yeah.
So you are not going to have, frankly speaking, a fair democratic result. Okay. So there is no denying that Bangladesh has become increasingly radicalized. And because Sheikh Hasina has been in hiding in India, that has given her opponents a political pretext to make India look like, giving sanctuary to somebody who they saw as an authoritarian threat. It is a very slippery slope for India. Don't forget, this is a country that we helped liberate and create, actually, and now it's gone a complete 180 degrees.
Well, we have to ask why, and we will, viewers, tomorrow ask the question why.
Yes.
Thank you. I need to move on, viewers, because from Paris to Dhaka to London, Islamist street power is spreading, but so is the excuse making. Every time violence erupts, we are told it's a reaction. You heard one other gentleman saying it right now, a response to provocation. Tonight, we question that story. Our guest sees Islamism not as anger, but as ideology, organized, global, and deliberate. An ideology that targets open societies and silences its critics. Dr. Gadsad, praised by Prime Minister Modi for appreciating India's civilizational culture, scholar at the University of Mississippi, author of The Parasitic Mind, How Infectious Ideas Are Killing Common Sense, and the forthcoming book, Suicidal Empathy, Dying to Be Kind, joins us now to answer a few, and I have to say this, viewers, blunt questions shorn totally of PR. And I'm going to begin by asking these questions. Mr. Saad, thank you very much. You've been praised by Prime Minister Modi for your admiration of India and its culture. In your view, what is the single biggest threat to India's future today? External aggression, internal decay, or ideological subversion?
I mean, I would probably say that the latter, in that I know that India has a very rich tapestry of cultures and languages and spices and foods, but I know that there's a problem that the entire globe is facing, and that's coming from an ideology that may not be consistent with some of the liberties and freedoms that we take for granted. So, without knowing too much about the internal machinations of Indian politics,
Right.
I would say the same problem that the rest of the world faces is the one that India faces.
So clearly, you're referring to the elephant in the room, and I'm going to name it Islamism. You argue it's an ideology, not a reaction. Why do so many still insist it's merely a response to Hindu or Western assertion? And why is that, I would have to say and ask you, a dangerous lie?
Well, because we've evolved the prefrontal cortex here in the front of our brain in order to be able to invoke our capacity to reason. Part of our capacity to reason is to understand statistical regularities. So, for example, if there have been, this is a real statistic, which I am underestimating the actual number, there have been over 48,000 plus Islamic terror attacks nearly since 9/11 alone in nearly 70 countries. Surely we can't be arguing that each of those instances of 48,000 Islamic attacks are due to some boogeyman retaliation to something, right? Especially when the terrorists themselves will usually tell you exactly why they're doing it, and oftentimes they tell you very truthfully it is stemming from particular tenets of their faith. So yes, there might be a few instances where it is some form of retaliation, but generally speaking, Islam, this doesn't mean that most Muslims are not perfectly lovely and nice. I come from Lebanon. I've known more nice Muslims than most people will ever meet. But Islam divides the world into two camps. It's a dual system. There is Dar al-Harb and Dar al-Islam. Those are Arabic words which mean the house of Islam and the house of war. Any country that is not yet under the dominion of Islam is under officially the house of war. So that's the best explanation for what we're seeing around the world.
Well, India has repeatedly warned against naming the problem, and all of us are pulled up if we do. What happens to a democracy that refuses to identify the ideology challenging it?
Well, imagine if you go to see your physician, but you have a value system that says that your physician should never name the diagnosis of whatever it is that ails you. So it is more important to ignore the problem than to actually name it and hopefully address it, right? This is exactly why. So I have two books that are relevant to this. My 2020 book, The Parasitic Mind, explains what happens to human minds when they are parasitized by ideological capture. And then in my forthcoming book, Suicidal Empathy, I explain what happens to our emotional system when it is hijacked by, parasitic impotence, right? So it becomes more important to not be labeled Islamophobic than to protect young children in Britain. As you probably know, the grooming gangs in Britain over the past 30 years have gone up and down Britain, raping thousands and thousands of British white girls, but the police thought in their twisted calculus that it would have been too Islamophobic and bigoted to actually name the problem. If a few children have to be raped, so be it. At least we are kind and tolerant.
Well, so political correctness is a problem. Okay, now you've said open societies are uniquely vulnerable. But I want to ask you, is this true that Islamism exploits free speech, secularism, and tolerance to weaken countries from within?
It's 100% true. The Muslim Brotherhood stood on top of the mountain and screamed it to the entire world to hear them. And yet, of course, we all refused to hear it. By the way, it's not just the Muslim Brotherhood who said this. They said, we are going to conquer the West. And I hope all of your Indian listeners pay close attention to this. We are going to conquer the West in three ways. We're going to conquer it through the womb of our women, right? So, for example, most Westerner countries right now have a fertility rate that's well below replacement rate. And so if you've got Muslims who are, procreating at a rate of 4 children a family versus, we're creating at 1.3%, 1.3 children per family. We can calculate what the demographic outlook looks like. It's not a difficult calculation to make. So that's number one, through the womb of our women. Number two, we will conquer the West through hijra. Hijra is the Arabic word for immigration. And how beautiful it is when the West has decided that an open door policy is the best way to exhibit that we are kind and compassionate. And number three, to your exact question, we are going to conquer the West by using your miserable freedoms against you. So they scream it loudly and we ignore it proudly.
Okay, so let me ask you, because there is this action-reaction theory that dominates academia and media. Where does this come from?
Well, it comes from an internalized set of values that suggest that it is gauche, it is inappropriate, it is offensive to ever criticize someone's religion. Good people don't do that, right? And so this is why, by the way, if you forgive me for saying this, in one of your earlier questions, you put a whole bunch of qualifiers: radical, extremist Islamism. There is no such thing. There's only Islam. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, stated that exactly. There is no radical Islam. There's no moderate Islam. There's just Islam. 1 million Islamic scholars have said that. Much of Islam is itself political. 90% plus of it is political Islam. And there's about 10% that's sort of the spiritual elements, right? So there is no something that is outside of Islam, but yet we don't feel comfortable saying that because it feels as though it's wrong to criticize it. Let me give an analogy. Badminton is a sport that starts with the letter B. Boxing is a sport that starts with the letter B. They're both sports, but they're not equally likely to inflict brain damage to you, correct? So by the same logic, all religions are not equally likely to function harmoniously within a system of secularism and personal liberties. The quicker we realize this, while being perfectly kind and tolerant and welcoming of individual Muslims, the better the world will be.
My final one, the denial of Islamist radicalism hurts, and that's my worry, Indian Muslims the most. Would you agree?
I do, of course. Look, the biggest victims of Islamic terror happen to be Muslims themselves, right? So this is why the idea, but it's only 1% that are committing the violence. That's a bit of a canard, because why aren't the rest of the beautiful, peaceful, kind Muslims standing up and saying, no more? It's been 1400 years of this. You're no longer going to do this in the name of my faith, or we're going to reform our faith. So I completely agree with you that if the Muslims were able to be fully liberated from the shackles. Now, by the way, you could still be proud of an endless number of elements of Islamic heritage. There is beautiful Islamic poetry, and there is Islamic philosophy, there's Islamic architecture, right? I'm Jewish. Now, that doesn't mean that being Jewish means that I have to make sure to light the Shabbat candle at 421 exactly. I can ignore those elements and yet still be proud of my heritage. And so what I would implore Muslims to do is be proud of all of the elements that you should rightly be proud of, and maybe soften some of the elements in your religion that are inconsistent with our 21st century liberties.
Gatsa, thank you very much for speaking to us. Hopelessly over. We leave you, viewers, with The Vantage coming up next.
This is News 8.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा। ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र। पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
Let's open this up, viewers. We've got to ask some tough questions tonight. And there is a spare day tomorrow for Parliament, let me tell you. And I hope the BJP turns up on this debate instead of skittering into some gutter. And I'll tell you, viewers, this. We need accountability. In Goa, no head is rolled. Boeing crisis, no one comes to. Nothing comes to fruition by the way of accountability. Here also, viewers, we can get gassed to death, and they will gas in Parliament. They can come and issue a notice against me. I want to begin with Suhail Seth. Suhail Seth, you live in an area that sinks every monsoon. You've tweeted about it. You step out of your home, you step into heaps of garbage, you walked around the streets and showed us that. That's pollution also, viewers. And today you can't breathe. And Parliament has this sham. I mean, what is going on?